When we place objects in InDesign, we are constantly measuring the width and height of that object to ensure consistency across the board. And in InDesign, there are multiple ways to measure objects or elements within your document, and I'm going to show you that here. One way, if I select or highlight an item, in this case an image, we'll see up here in the control panel that I have items for measurement for width and height and the X and Y coordinates. So if I select another element here, we'll see that that changes. Another way also is by these rulers, and I have, or guide bars, and I have horizontal and vertical rulers up here at the top. Now, I like mine to default in inches when I'm talking in terms of width and height and elements that I'm placing, because I know that the page that I'm working on will typically range from 8.5 by 11 inches and so forth. So on document size measurements, I like to use inches, but what if you don't like to use inches, you prefer picas or points? If you right click on the ruler, you can select, and let's say if I change this to points, then we'll see that that ruler changes to points. If I right click, I can switch it back to inches, and if I want to change that on the vertical as well, I can simply right click there as well. Now, when we're constantly working on documents, a lot of people like to preserve as much space as possible. So you may not always want to have the rulers open. And how do you get rid of the rulers here in your document window? The easiest way to do that is the keyboard shortcut Control+R. Will get rid of those rulers for you, and of course if I ever want to bring them back, I can press Control+R again, or I can go up to the View menu and select Hide Rulers, which is located right there. Now, this only applies to this document. It doesn't apply to any other documents that I'm going to open up. But what if I want to apply this so that they are the defaults to all documents that I'm going to open in the future? Well, one way to do that is we can hit Control-K on our keyboard to bring up the Preferences menu. And then under Units and Increments, here the very first option is Ruler Units. So here we have the horizontal and the vertical, and we can see that mine default to inches. But just like we did when we right clicked, if we bring down this drop down, we can see that we can change that as well. And then after we've made our changes, we can select OK. I'm going to go ahead and select Cancel because I didn't really make any changes, and I'm going to focus more on the preferences later on in this chapter when we talk about preferences. And there is one other quick item I'm going to show you real quick, and that's using the Measure tool here within InDesign. So if I click on an item and I have the Measure tool selected, we'll see that it brings up a dialog box, and I can draw a line, let's say from one end of this image to the next, and it's going to give me the width, and I can also click and drag down to get my vertical length. And I can do this for my entire document if I wanted to. And we're going to focus more on this tool in a later chapter. But since we're talking about measurements, I thought I would bring it up. And that is the different ways that you can measure items within your document here in InDesign.